faith is definitely a big part of it. But also it's having perspective. No matter who you are, no matter what your situation, there's always somebody worse off than you are.
Well, I've heard it said that it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. And since I got a University of Georgia grad on the podcast today, I'm sure he'd say as long as it's a bulldog, he's good. And that's good because he's a fighter too, as you're going to soon hear. So welcome to the podcast today, Michael Patellis. Now, Mike and I met when he reached out to me about something entirely different that we're not going to talk about today. But, God has a funny way about bringing people together. And so Michael is the vice president of corporate engagement for the Blind Institute of Technology. And he has over 20 years of fantastic business experience and a story you just have to hear to believe. So, Michael, welcome to the True Man podcast today.
Thank you, Mike. I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the reference to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, well, what am I going to do? You guys won the national championship, so just it is what it is. It is what it is. So, Michael, I am excited to have you on the podcast today to tell your story. And when we first met, I would admit to being pretty blown away. You stopped me and said, "Hey, I got a comeback story," and that's what I'm all about: comeback stories, second chances, and the pivots in life that really lead to success and satisfaction for a person. So, and you've got that story, and so just jump in there and tell us about yourself and what happened to you and how you've been able to adjust to it.
Yep. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. So, my name is Michael Patellis. I'm 47 years old and I live in Alpharetta, Georgia. So I've been Atlanta native my whole life. And, I guess my story starts all the way back in my childhood. My father, he came from Greece when he was, he had to quit school in 7th grade because he was helping his dad make shoes because they were very poor. And when he was 16, he came to America by himself to come be with his older brother and start a business. And every step of my life, my dad was always very successful and, had a lot of hard times, but one thing, he never made excuses. And, my sister, my mom and we always just had everything because it was purely from my dad's hard work and always being positive and never giving up. He taught me so much just growing up about working hard and getting things accomplished. So that's where I get my true motivation is definitely from my dad. But when I was 15, between 9th and 10th grade, this is in 1989, we were on vacation at the beach, and I was rubbing my right eye, and then I noticed that I really couldn't see well out of my left eye. So when we got home, we went to the doctor, and he said, "Oh, it's fine, no big deal. You probably got something in your eye or something like that." So I was like, "Okay, fine." And then by October of 1989, I remember I was playing high school football, and we came out of the locker room at halftime and looked across the field, and I couldn't see the scoreboard anymore. So now that's when I started to get worried. And so we went back to the eye doctor, ophthalmologist, and he said, "Well, I don't see anything. There's no evidence of physical damage or anything that could be physically causing my vision loss." And so he recommended to my parents that I go to a psychologist once a week, and I did. So I, for once a week, for about a year, I went to this guy once a week, and he would talk to me. He would try to hypnotize me. And at the same time, when he was talking to my parents, he said, "Well, he's actually doing fine. He's actually handling the situation extremely well, being 15, and I was very active in sports and couldn't play sports anymore. So by December, I was officially Yep.
Why do you think you handled it so well? I'm reflecting back to that age for me. And I don't think I would have handled it that well. Personally, I was so active in sports. I think if somebody said, well, if you can't see, you can't play or something like that, that just would have crushed me. Why do you think you handled it so well? Or how do you think you handled it so well?
Well, I had a wonderful support system from my friends and my
Mm,
family, but also I was always positive.
yeah.
By December, I could barely see to get around, and I had to use like a Sharpie to write with. So it was like, big letters, and I really couldn't read. So it was really tough. But I remember in January of 1990, for example, they made an announcement. If you want to play uh, varsity baseball, then come to the meeting after school in a room, whatever. So I remember I went to the meeting and everybody was there and they're like, well, how are you going to play? You can't see.
Huh.
And even at that point, I was like, oh, I'm sure it'll get better. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Um, because according to the doctor, I'm just crazy. Um, so, so yeah, that went on. I was technically diagnosed as being crazy for a year. And I was turning 16 in August. So my parents were like, okay, let's see, if you're crazy, let's go buy your dream car, because surely that would make me wake up. So I wanted an Eagle Talon, and picked it out, the exact color, stereo, seating, everything I wanted. No detail left out, and we brought the car home, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to sleep, and then when I wake up, I'll be able to see miraculously. Of course, that didn't work, and the car just sat in the driveway, and it was just an expensive stereo to me.
But
Um,
I gotta tell you, Michael, I think, it was an Eagle Talent. It probably would have done a lot of sitting in the driveway anyway, right?
sure.
I don't, I don't, it was, I remember that era. I just don't remember those cars being around very
No, no, that's
long.
very true. Yeah. Yeah, you cannot find a 2022 Eagle Talon, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but so now that I'm about a year into it, we're in my sophomore year of high school, and no, I'm sorry, my junior year of high school, and finally the ophthalmologist sees some deterioration in my optic nerve, and he said I need to go to a neuro-ophthalmologist. We're like, okay. So I went to a neuro-ophthalmologist, and yeah, he definitely confirmed that my optic nerve was severely swollen. A lot of the fibers in my optic nerve were dead, and all of the covering around the nerve called
Hmm.
myelin had deteriorated as well. So he said, it might be a brain tumor, so let's check for that first. So they did all kind of scans and stuff, and I had no brain tumor. And he said, well, he couldn't figure out what else it was, so he officially diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis. And he said it might get better, might get worse, might end up in a wheelchair. We're like, okay. So I went along with that diagnosis for about a month. They tried to treat me with heavy doses of steroids, but obviously that didn't do anything. So then I went to a doctor at Emory, and I was telling her my story, and she said, I know exactly what it is based on how you're describing it. So she pulled a piece of my hair, and she did a DNA test, and I tested positive for a hereditary disorder called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. So I was born with this defective gene, and it basically kicked in when I was 15, and that's what caused my vision loss from being, having perfect vision to being legally blind in a period of 4 months. So that's and especially at that time, the eye disease was still extremely rare. And I think a lot of it had to do with just people getting misdiagnosed and not enough awareness about the disease, the eye disorder. Um, so I was thankful that we got an official diagnosis, and
Well, it's pretty interesting. So was this doctor a specialist in it that she was able to like almost instantly pick that out and say, I got a hunch here. I mean,
yep, yeah, she was only one of two doctors in the U.S. that
oh
was really
wow.
focusing on this, and she just happened to be here in Atlanta, in the Emory area. So
I mean,
other than that,
was it a relief of any kind to have a diagnosis? I mean, did you feel like that maybe well, if we have a diagnosis, there's some kind of hope I might be able to see again, or
Yeah, absolutely. I knew, and obviously I was in the best hands at Emory,
yeah.
being that there were only two doctors at the time really focused on this
Mm-hmm.
disorder, and also I knew it wasn't anything that's going to spread or have an impact on other parts of my body.
Yeah.
So other than that, I was fine, but just can't see. So I couldn't drive, couldn't read, but it was fine. I had a wonderful support system at school and with my friends and family. So graduated high school, and then, as you mentioned, I went to University of Georgia, and I was there for 4 years and had a wonderful time. And then I guess let me take a step back too. I actually, when I was playing baseball, my first year I played baseball was '81, and I had started buying baseball cards at the concession stand. So I was just buying cards here and there. And then my dad started buying for me in bulk. And I remember I went to a baseball card show in 1987, and I could still see then. And I had a bunch of Mark McGwire rookie cards. I said, wow, I had 16 of them. They were selling for $50 each. So
Yeah.
got a table at the next card show, sold everything, a couple $1,000s worth of cards, and went bought more cards and more cards and more cards. And it actually, by 1989, I had formed an official business, and I started selling cards on the internet in 1989. So that was way
You were
before the
way
internet.
ahead of your
Yeah,
time, brother.
absolutely. But I was fortunate in my I started buying direct from the card companies, and my dad got me a line of credit from the bank. And by by
Wow.
1993, I was able to, my business peaked. I did $750,000 in sales of baseball cards, and so and that was all in the middle of me also losing my vision. But like I said, I just get my inspiration from my dad, and there was never an excuse for not having something, or if something goes wrong, then there is a solution. So that was fun. That was a wonderful experience in the card business. Unfortunately, it tanked, and I ended up losing a ton of money too. But that's okay. It was a great lesson in business.
Yeah. Well, listen, I was going to say, unfortunately, through no fault of my own, I have, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run cards in a
Yep.
box down in the basement because they're worth about that nothing. I'm
Yep.
sure. I'm sure.
Yep.
Not because those guys weren't good ball players. I would say it was the extra curricular activity that they were participating in.
Yes. Yeah.
That bottomed them out.
Absolutely. Yeah, they had some assistance in creating their greatness. Indeed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was really exciting and really great business. So then out of college, I started at a computer hardware company based here in Norcross, Georgia, and it was an entry-level sales job, $11 an hour, and basically telephone sales, just making cold calls and trying to sell computer motherboards to people. But the great thing about that company was, it was a very flat structure, and the CEO managed everything very tightly, but it was a great environment to learn. So you could learn as much as you wanted. So I learned, a vast amount of technical information, a lot about the business. And so when by 2004 came around, I ended up getting recruited by a company out of New Jersey. They had acquired some technology and out of Germany, and they wanted me to lead the business unit here in the U.S. So they recruited me and hired me for the position, and it really was, they put a lot of faith in me. And so from having zero revenue and zero customers, I was able to grow the business significantly, and was able, through cold calling and network, sell to companies like HP, IBM, Dell, Intel, AMD, Microsoft. So just about every major technology name, I was able to penetrate the company, find the right people, and secure business. And
Michael, the one thing that I get from you, And it's incredible. And I know you say you get this from your dad. Your determination to succeed, your will to succeed is absolutely incredible. And it's in the middle of, essentially a trauma that you don't allow to get in your way. And this is a separator between you and a lot of people that are out there. I think that I'd maybe like to dive into a little bit. You have a situation, and I never once do you roll over. I mean, you barely blink. You just kind of just keep charging through, and there's no doubt that comes down to attitude. How do you maintain that positive attitude in the middle of a traumatic situation like that? Is it faith? Is it what is it that's really going on inside of you that keeps you churning?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, faith is definitely a big part of it. But also it's having perspective. No matter who you are, no matter what your situation, there's always somebody worse off than you are. And, even you look at people from the outside and you say, oh my God, they have the most perfect life. Well, unfortunately, everybody has something, whether, they hide it or you're just not aware of it. And I think,
oh, really? Because on Facebook, I thought everybody had a great life.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are you don't see anybody put on Facebook, I have negative $20 in my checking account.
That'd be too real.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what, I've been able to turn my disability more into an asset. And I could definitely say, as I get to my story, I could definitely say that it's had more of a positive impact on my life, everyone around me, both friends, family, and in the corporate world as well. And I think that's one of the keys why I've been so successful in sales and business development, and that I can really connect with people because I understand that, I take the approach of, okay, everybody has a challenge and everybody's a person. So, I could literally carry on a conversation with anybody, and, it'll be an enjoyable conversation, and they'll walk away of, wow, this is cool. I really like this guy. We should talk more.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. I had one conversation with you. And, so yeah, that, I was at that job till around 2011. And then I got recruited through one of the board members of the company I was working with. I got recruited to head up the business unit for a streaming company. And they were based out of Bulgaria, and they wanted to introduce their technology all around the world. So when you're starting a TV streaming company, the best thing to do is hire a blind guy. So that's what they did.
I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
It's kind of counterintuitive, but okay. What do you know about TV and entertainment? Absolutely nothing. But we had a really cool technology platform that was far ahead, advanced of other streaming technologies that were out there. And my role was to launch the platform as a proof of concept, and build a large content library on it and a large user base, and then hopefully sell the technology. So this is in 2011, and by that time I started making cold calls and reaching out to companies like HBO, CNN, CBS, ABC, Disney, all these type of major content partners, and was able to sign agreements with them to put them on our platform. And like I said, it was a really cool technology in that you could stream directly from your phone to your TV. And there was nothing like that at the time. I remember in 2012, when I was talking to the CEO, I said, you know what, Mark Cuban really loved this technology. And he's like, what, do you know him? I said, no, I don't know him, but I'll find him. So I sent Mark an email and everything, telling him about the technology, and said I wanted to talk to him about investing. And he responded, and he called me an idiot. He said,
"I'm just impressed you got through to the guy. I could care less."
He said, you must be an idiot if you think I would jeopardize my relationship with cable companies and satellite companies to have it streamed. So, okay, well, but I continued persistent with him for years and years and years. He always responded, but and ended up doing a little bit of business with him. But I remember when I got his email response, I was like, holy cow. So it didn't work out like I wanted it to, but it's just people are asking me, well, how'd you even find him? How'd you even have the guts to do that? I was sort of just a person, just like anybody else. And that's part of the perspective that I have, that people are just people. So I was there until about actually in 2016. We still really weren't making money in the business, and we were trying to figure out something that would work. And growing up, I'm 47. I still am a professional wrestling fan. But and my wife just scratches her head and looks at me. She says, "You're a grown man. This is not real." I said, "Well, it is kind of real." But so I said, came up with the idea. Why don't we do a pay-per-view? We did a pay-per-view, and ended up being extremely successful. And we ended up changing the business model completely from a technology company to a media company. And we'd called it Fight TV. And by 2018, we've grown it into a major media company in the combat sports arena. So we had wrestling, MMA, boxing, traditional martial arts, live events, all kinds of archives of events and stuff. So I stepped away from that business in 2018 because my main talent is in technology, and it was well on its path to being a media company.
I think we could debate what your real talent is. Seems to me whatever you touch is your real talent.
Well, yeah, it's been fortunate, and actually 2020 we sold 2021, it's almost a year ago, we sold the business actually for $52 million. So that was very exciting to see that I took something and built it from zero, and we were able to end up selling the business.
Oh yeah, it helps your pocketbook too.
Amount.
That's always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, got some challenges with the stock market right now, but it's all good. So in 2021, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my career, and I got introduced to a gentleman named Mike Hess. He's in Denver, Colorado, and he's blind. And he, in 2013, he was an engineer making good money. In 2013, he quit his engineering job to start the Blind Institute of Technology. So I had one discussion with Mike, and I was really excited. I wanted to find a way to really combine my personal disability with my professional experience, and find ways to help people with disabilities find meaningful careers and jobs. So like I mentioned, Mike launched the company in 2013. I've been there 18 months now, and the sole purpose of the organization is to reduce the severe unemployment and underemployment rate of people with disabilities. Right now at this point, it's about 81%. And we are a nonprofit organization, and all of our services to our candidates are completely free. So on average, we take somebody who is unemployed or severely underemployed. We take them through a 12-week training on specific technologies and skill sets. And then we place them in jobs making an average of $72,000 a year with a clear path upwards. And that's, I've been fortunate to be successful. And I think a lot of it has to do with the support system I had around me. And, people with disabilities, sometimes it's, they don't have the same support system out there.
Right.
And that people, don't have the same belief in them. And then, people get down on themselves that, okay, well, I've got a disability, whether I'm blind or deaf or a mental disability or any other physical disability. and it's hard to get down. It's easy to get down on yourself and just be satisfied with living in the basement with mom and dad, or just living off the government. And so that's what we do. And I talk to people with disabilities every day, and we change their lives every day.
I just love that, Michael. I mean, listen, you've been pretty successful. Seems to me you could have rode off in the sunset and said that was a lot of fun. Give me a drink with an umbrella. I'll be here by the pool. And instead, you're transitioning to really, really leaving a legacy. And I think that this is where a lot of guys, a lot of people want to move to. Was that your first thing? Like, we sell the company, it's all good. And are you thinking, yeah, this is good, but man, I got still have something in the can here, and I want to leave a legacy. I mean, is any of that crossing your mind? And then you cross paths with the Blind Institute?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The timing was right in my life, and ever since I lost my vision, and especially after I got officially diagnosed, I've talked to a lot of people, especially with this rare disease. A lot of people end up getting misdiagnosed, just like I did. And I'm almost like a veteran with this disease, since I had it since 1989. And literally, I still talk to several people a month who recently got diagnosed, and from all around the world. And they'll call me and ask me questions.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of times it's parents that their kids, they don't know what's going to happen, and they feel like their life is over. And so I end up telling my story.
What is it like? What is it like to talk to people that have been recently diagnosed, and they're thinking,
yeah,
they're thinking, this is it, man. There's no way. I mean, how does that make you feel when you're, able to help these people?
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely, it makes me feel good. And I'm blessed that I have a story to tell that, you can still be successful, and you can still be happy, and you can still have an awesome family. My wife and I, we've been married now for 20 years. And she's an awesome lady, having to put up with me and drive me around everywhere. And like even this morning, she came back. She went to take the kids somewhere. We have two kids, 14 and 10. And she came back and she said, "Did you make coffee?" I said, "Yeah, I did. How'd you know?" And apparently, I didn't put the cup right in straight, and a lot of it just spilled out of the Keurig thing.
I've done that, and I can see.
Yeah. So absolutely, she just walks behind me, cleaning up my messes and disasters that I create. And it's. But one thing we also do is we also laugh all the time, because number one, there's nothing can be done about my vision, and it's just fun to laugh. And I have so many stories from my life, and just traveling. So I've traveled a lot for business. Actually, in 2018, I went to a conference in Monaco, and I flew there by myself, from Atlanta to Amsterdam, then Paris to Nice. And it was a 1 week long conference in Monaco. It was a sports conference, and I was staying in a Marriott. And at the time, I don't know what the status is now, but Uber was not allowed in Monaco. So the hotel was about 3 miles away from the convention center. So the people at the hotel front desk, they helped me out. They said, right across the street, there's the bus that comes, and get off on the third exit, and I'll be right there at the convention center. They said it's the number 6 bus. So I was like 4 days into it, and I'm just really doing a good job, getting on the bus and finding my way. And then one day, and it was like the 4th day, and I asked somebody next to me. I said, the bus came up, and I said, "Well, what number is this bus?" And they said, "Well, it's the number 5 bus." I said, "Okay, thank you." So the next bus comes up, and I get on the bus, and the driver starts yelling at me in French. Blah, 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 blah. I said, I only speak English. I don't know. And he's still yelling at me in French. Blah, 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 blah. And I still say, I'm sorry. I only speak English. So finally he looks at me. He says, school bus. And and then I look over, and yes, it is a school bus. So
Nice.
I get off the bus and go wait in line again. And in fairness to me, the school bus was the exact same bus as the city bus. But it was like, wait, why didn't anybody tell me there's a 5.5 bus? And the 5 bus comes and the 6 bus will come. But no, apparently they just let me get on the school bus, and I'm sure some people are like, "What in the world?"
Well, hey,
But,
listen, I don't think you, my hunch is you don't embarrass very easily. And one of the things since we met, and I'll be honest and tell you, I get a smile on my face. It's happened a couple of times where I received an email from you that was supposed to go to somebody else, and I just emailed you back, and I said, Michael, I think you're looking for a different Michael. And I know what's going on. And and honestly, if it was somebody else, I'd probably get annoyed, and it just like put a smile on my face. I'm like, because I know you're such a go-getter. And I mean, I love that. That's an attractive attribute. And so I just send back, an email, and I'm like, what the heck's going on with this guy? Can't he see? Like, what's going on? So it does put a smile on my face. And I think, but you know what? Because I think to myself, well, here's a guy, he could have rode off, called it a day, and he's out there working harder than most people that can see. And, I talk with a lot of people, and when we talk about vision, a lot of times we're talking about purpose, not necessarily being able to see. But you have great vision. Now, you might not be able to see, but your vision is outstanding. So I just want to tell you that, Michael.
Yeah, and thank you for helping me out there when I send the email to you instead of to my boss, Mike Hess. So
that's what it is.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, no, I love it. I don't have a problem with it at all. I'll always let you know, just so you know.
Oh yeah, and that, I just got all kinds of stories like that where I just mess up or make mistakes, but it is what it is, and all you can do is just laugh and move on. But my vision loss has actually been such a blessing, and even for my kids, they know that they have to grab my hand and help me down the steps, or if it's dark, they need to help me walk and get around. And it's really helped them have perspective as well. Especially in school where you have, so many different personalities and cliques. And, I can say that, both of my children are, awesome in that, they don't leave people out. And, they understand that, everyone's different. And, I think they get it from just seeing me, obviously. I'm not like any of the other dads around, and but I'm always the funnest dad, and they see that. So
I like that.
That's it. Yeah.
Your attitude is just so outstanding. And given the world that we're living in, I mean, you can flip on the news for 5 minutes and it can get you down for sure, if you allow it. Given what's going on across this country, across the world, and the fact that people wear their attitudes in a very negative way for a lot of the time on their sleeve, given your situation and your positive outlook on life, what would you say to some of these people that are getting swept up in stuff that in a lot of cases doesn't really matter?
Yep. Oh no, yeah, and definitely you see it every day, and especially you turn the news on, and I do as well. You see it's just nothing but bad news, and so it's all about having a positive mindset. If you have a situations that my situation, you consider I have a bad situation, and I need to work towards fixing it. So even if you do it a little bit at a time every day, and make progress, then, eventually you will be able to fix things no matter what your situation is. It might take a long time, but most importantly is having that positive attitude that you can overcome anything. And that's the great thing about this country, that the opportunity's there for anyone. And my dad's a great example. And so but at the end of the day, it's all about the attitude. So you got to have a positive mindset, and then good things will happen.
Yeah.
Might not turn out the way you wanted it to or whatever, but still, if you start making forward progress, everything will be okay.
Yeah. Well, so that's just outstanding advice. So listen, Michael, as we wrap up here today, how can people get a hold of you if you want them to get a hold of you? How can they find the Blind Institute and get in touch with that organization and support it? How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, Michael, and my last name's Patellis, Patellis. Our website is blindit.org. And if anyone wants to talk to me, they can call me on the phone too. My cell phone number is 678-429-5539. I always answer my phone. So, I'm not sure who it'll be, but, I don't buy, I talk to anybody.
Caller ID doesn't matter. Right?
Yeah. No, when I see it's a sales call, then I'll just turn it around and try to sell something to them.
God, so. You know what? I know you will. I know you will. Yes, sir. I love that.
So, So the BIT is Blind Institute Technology is just a wonderful organization, and we're a very small team of 10, but the work we do is incredible. And I could say, when I first started, the first person I got in touch with was Mark Cuban, and I told him what I was doing, and he came back to me in 10 minutes and said, "All right, I'll send you 100,000." And this January, I wrote back to him and told him what we did with his money, and he said, "All right, I'll send you another 100,000." So it's the story we have is just truly meaningful and impactful in that we help solve a problem and help people be successful on their own and be independent. I don't know if you've seen Kurt Warner's movie that came out right after Christmas, American Underdog.
I've not had a chance, but I know we talked about this because I told you I've seen Kurt Warner play for the Iowa Barnstormers and the UNI Panthers, oddly enough, because he's an Iowa boy just like me. So
yep. Yeah, absolutely. So the movie's about his life story and not giving up, and finally having somebody give him a chance. And obviously once he had a chance, he more than proved himself. Being a Super Bowl MVP, now Hall of Fame quarterback. But one thing in the movie that my family and I noticed that was most interesting is his son is blind. And we were walking out of the movie, and my wife's like, "You're going to get him, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So within a day and a half, I was able to hunt him down, and we were having a big fundraiser here in Atlanta coming up in a few months, and I wanted to come speak. It was going to be in March, and unfortunately he couldn't come because he was taking his family on a spring break trip, and they haven't gone anywhere because of COVID in a while. So he did end up putting together a really nice promotional video for us. But what's more interesting about it is Kurt and his wife Brenda, they started a facility called Treasure House in Phoenix. And it's an independent living community for people with disabilities. So, for example, their son Zach lives there, and they have a total of 29 residents. And I went there last Tuesday in Phoenix to, I spent a lot of time with Zach and all the residents there, and all kinds of different disabilities, from Down syndrome to autism to OCD. Some people were spina bifida, just all kinds of disabilities. And it was just an incredible environment. Just seeing, they had this nice common area where they have games and they eat and everything. It was just incredible seeing how all these young adults, their ages 19 to 30, are able to interact with each other, and they were just so happy. And you've seen the personalities of a person with Down syndrome meshing with a person with autism. And I remember, Mike Hess and I were just sitting there saying, oh, this is incredible. It's,
Yeah.
and it truly is. So that's now one of my big projects is help finding jobs for all of their residents.
Well,
a lot of them.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you guys will forge a great relationship with Kurt Warner and his family. Just an incredible human being, Kurt, and like you, so he's overcome a lot in his life to put his family in a position where they're able to help others in that way, and that's just incredibly cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody
Michael,
out there has if anybody out there has a disability and would like some help in securing a real career, meaningful career, please reach out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, I am so grateful that you came on, shared your story. It's really been pretty cool to hear your story. It's even cooler to hear how you've maintained a positive outlook on life and been able to push forward. So I appreciate you sharing that with the audience.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you having me.
Awesome. We'll have to do it again sometime. Take care, man.
All right. You too.
All right.